Far beyond the busy trade routes of the galaxy, where very few ships ever traveled, a small alien patrol fleet moved slowly through the darkness of space. The stars were cold and distant, and the system they were exploring was almost completely empty. No planets with life, no stations, no signals, just silence. The patrol fleet belonged to the Crithian Empire, a powerful civilization known for its strong scanners and careful exploration. Their mission that day was simple: check the outer systems and make sure no unknown ships were hiding there. On the command bridge of the patrol ship Vortex Claw, Captain Varek stood calmly in front of the main screen. He was an experienced commander who had explored hundreds of systems before. Most patrols were boring and quiet, and he expected this one to be the same. But suddenly, one of the officers spoke. "Captain, I'm detecting something." Varek slowly turned toward the scanning station. "What is it?" he asked. The officer looked confused as he studied the data. "I'm not sure yet, sir. There is a large object near the outer orbit of the dead planet in this system." The main screen changed as the scanner zoomed in. A dark shape slowly appeared on the display. At first, it looked like a strange asteroid. But then the image became clearer. The object had sharp edges, flat surfaces, perfect lines. Captain Varek narrowed his eyes. "That's not an asteroid," he said quietly. "It's a ship." The bridge suddenly became more alert. Officers leaned closer to their stations as the scanners focused on the mysterious object. The shape was massive. Much larger than the patrol ships of the Crithian Empire. Even larger than most military cruisers. The unknown vessel drifted silently in space, floating above the dark surface of the dead planet below. But something about it felt strange. "There are no engine signals," another officer reported. "No communication signals either." "Life signs?" Varek asked. The scanner officer shook his head. "None detected." The crew exchanged confused looks. A giant warship drifting in deep space with no power, no crew, and no signals was extremely unusual. "Bring the visual scanners to maximum," Varek ordered. The screen sharpened again. Now they could see the ship clearly. The vessel was enormous and built with thick armor plates. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, and covered with complex structures and weapon mounts. Rows of heavy cannons were visible along its sides. Strange towers and antenna systems rose from the top of the hull. This was not a civilian vessel. This was a warship. And not just any warship. "This design," one officer whispered. "I have never seen anything like it." Captain Varek studied the ship carefully. The structure looked advanced. Extremely advanced. But parts of the ship also looked old. Very old. "Scan the hull markings," Varek ordered. The scanner began reading the outer surface of the vessel. Dust and space debris covered parts of the hull, but slowly the system revealed a symbol painted across the massive armor. The moment the symbol appeared on the screen, the bridge fell silent. No one spoke. No one moved. Because every officer on that bridge recognized the symbol. It was a simple design. A blue circle with a small star pattern. And beneath it were faded letters written in an ancient language. One officer spoke quietly. "Captain, that symbol." Varek nodded slowly. "I see it." The symbol belonged to a civilization that the galaxy had not seen for thousands of years. A civilization that had once been both respected and feared. Humans. Long ago, humanity had spread across many star systems. They built powerful fleets and advanced technology. But then, one day, they simply disappeared. No one knew why. Some believed humans destroyed themselves in war. Others believed they left the galaxy. Over time, humanity slowly became a legend. But now, a human warship was floating right in front of them. "This is impossible," one officer whispered. Captain Verex felt a strange chill. If this ship truly belonged to humans, then it was incredibly old. Thousands of years old. Yet somehow, it looked almost untouched by time. Begin a full scan of the vessel, Verex ordered. The scanning systems powered up and began reading the structure of the ship. For a few seconds, everything seemed normal. Then suddenly, a warning signal flashed across the main screen. The scanner officer's eyes widened. "Captain, the weapons on that ship." Verex stepped closer. "What about them?" The officer swallowed nervously. "They're still active." The bridge became completely silent. Everyone slowly looked back at the massive dark warship floating in space. A ship that had been drifting for thousands of years. A ship that showed no life signs. And yet somehow, its weapons were still ready to fire. Captain Verex felt a deep sense of unease. Because if the weapons were active, then maybe the ship was not as empty as it looked. And far inside the silent human warship, something had just begun to wake up. The bridge of the vortex claw remained silent after the warning appeared on the screen. No one moved for several seconds. The alien officers could not understand what they were seeing. A ship that had been drifting in space for thousands of years should have been completely dead. But the scanners were clearly showing active weapon systems. Captain Verex stared at the display. His mind was racing with questions. "Run the scan again," he ordered calmly. The scanning officer quickly entered commands. The system began analyzing the mysterious warship again, this time in deeper detail. Lines of data started moving across the screen. Armor thickness. Internal structure. Energy systems. Every new result made the crew more uncomfortable. "Captain," the officer said slowly, "the armor on this ship is incredibly strong. Stronger than anything used by the Crithian Empire." Verex crossed his arms and continued watching the data. "How strong?" he asked. The officer looked nervous. "According to the readings, our main cannons would barely damage it." Several officers turned their heads in shock. That was impossible. The Crithian fleet was known across the galaxy for its powerful weapons. Very few ships could survive even one direct hit. Yet this human vessel appeared to be built like a fortress. "Continue scanning," Verex said. The system moved deeper into the ship's structure. Large sections of the vessel appeared on the display. Massive weapon chambers. Long rows of missile bays. Hidden rail cannons placed across the hull. The ship was designed entirely for war. But then the scanner found something even stranger. "Captain, I'm detecting internal chambers," the officer said. The screen zoomed into the center of the ship. Inside the massive hull were thousands of small chambers arranged in perfect rows. "What are those?" another officer asked. The scanning computer processed the data. Then the answer appeared on the screen. "Stasis pods detected." The officer leaned closer to the display. "Captain, there are life support systems connected to them." Verex felt a cold feeling in his chest. "Are you saying what I think you are?" he asked quietly. The officer nodded slowly. "Yes, sir. There are biological readings inside the pods." The bridge became silent again. "How many?" Verex asked. The officer checked the numbers. His eyes widened. "Over 3,000. Several officers gasped. 3,000 life signs inside a single warship. And according to the readings, they were human. "Impossible," one officer whispered. Humans had vanished from the galaxy 10,000 years ago. But here they were. Sleeping inside a giant warship. Waiting. Captain Verex slowly stepped closer to the screen. "Are the life signs active?" he asked. The scanner officer studied the data carefully. "They are extremely weak, almost frozen. The stasis pods appear to be keeping them alive." The realization slowly spread across the bridge. The human crew had not died. They had been sleeping. For thousands of years. And if those stasis systems were still working, then the humans inside could wake up at any time. The silence on the bridge grew heavier. One young officer finally spoke. "Captain, if they wake up." No one finished the sentence. Because everyone already knew the answer. 3,000 human soldiers waking inside a fully armed warship would be a disaster. Captain Verex kept his voice calm. "Continue scanning. I want to know everything about that ship." The sensors moved deeper into the vessel. They scanned the engines next. The results were shocking. The engine system was far more advanced than modern alien technology. Even stranger, the power core of the ship was not completely dead. A small amount of energy was still flowing through the vessel. The officer frowned at the display. "Captain, there is still power inside the ship." "How much?" Verex asked. "Very little, but enough to keep some systems running." The bridge lights suddenly flickered. The officers looked around in confusion. Then the scanner alarm sounded again. A new signal appeared on the screen. A small but clear energy spike. Inside the human warship. The scanning officer's voice became tense. "Captain, something just activated." Every pair of eyes turned toward the screen. Deep inside the ancient vessel, a tiny power signal had appeared. At first it was weak. But slowly. It began to grow stronger. Captain Verex felt the unease return. "Where is the signal coming from?" he asked. The scanner zoomed in on a specific section of the ship. A control chamber near the center of the vessel. The officer stared at the readings in disbelief. "Captain." "Yes. It's coming from the ship's main computer core." The bridge fell silent again. Because if the computer core was waking up, then the ship was no longer dead. And far inside the silent human warship, ancient systems were beginning to power on. After 10,000 years of silence, the human warship was waking up. The bridge of the vortex claw was filled with tension. Every officer was staring at the screen, watching the strange energy signal growing inside the ancient human warship. At first the signal was weak, like a small spark. But slowly, it became stronger. Energy levels increasing, the scanner officer reported nervously. Captain Verex felt his claws tighten around the command rail. "That ship has been silent for thousands of years," he said quietly. "How can it suddenly power up?" No one had an answer. The alien fleet kept a safe distance while their sensors continued observing the vessel. Then something changed. A faint light appeared on the side of the human warship. One small window panel suddenly glowed with soft white light. The crew of the Vortex Claw gasped. Another light appeared. Then another. Slowly, like a giant machine waking from a long sleep, lights began turning on across the enormous ship. "Captain," an officer whispered. "The ship is activating." Lines of energy started moving through the vessel's outer systems. Power flowed across the massive hull, lighting up hidden structures and weapon mounts. The alien scanners suddenly detected something else. "Defense systems are coming online," the scanner officer said. "What kind of defenses?" Verex asked quickly. The officer's eyes widened as new data appeared. Automated rail cannons, missile launchers, defense drones. The list continued. The human warship was not just waking up. It was arming itself. The officers on the bridge began speaking nervously to each other. "If that ship decides we are a threat, our fleet cannot survive those weapons." Captain Verex raised his hand. Silence. Everyone immediately stopped talking. He kept his eyes on the screen. "Do not make any sudden moves. Hold our position." The fleet remained still, drifting silently in the darkness. Meanwhile, the human ship continued to wake. More lights appeared along its giant hull. Antenna towers slowly rotated as ancient communication systems activated. Then the scanners detected a deep vibration coming from the ship. "Captain," the engineer officer said, "the engine core is beginning to charge." Verex turned sharply. "Engines?" "Yes, sir." The officer pointed to the readings. The power levels inside the ship were rising rapidly now. For thousands of years the vessel had slept in silence. Now it was beginning to live again. Suddenly, the communication station beeped loudly. A signal appeared. The alien crew froze. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission," the officer said. "From the ship?" "Yes." Verex took a slow breath. "Put it on the main channel." For a moment, there was only static. Then a deep mechanical voice echoed through the bridge. "Unknown vessels detected." The voice was cold and calm. Not emotional. Not angry. Just, watching. The alien crew felt a chill run through them. The voice continued. "Scanning, scanning." Lines of alien ship data suddenly appeared on the main screen. The human warship was scanning them now. The mechanical voice spoke again. "For Crithian patrol vessels detected." Captain Verex looked at his officers in surprise. The human computer had identified their ships instantly. The voice continued speaking. "Threat level, unknown." Then the voice paused for a moment. More systems inside the warship activated. Suddenly the scanner officer shouted. "Captain! Energy spike detected." "Where?" Verex asked. "Multiple weapon systems." Across the hull of the massive ship, hidden weapon turrets slowly rotated into position. Rail cannons locked forward. Missile ports opened. Defense drones began sliding out of their launch bays. The human warship had fully entered combat readiness. The mechanical voice spoke again. "Human warship designation, Aegis Titan. Primary mission, Galactic Defense Fleet." The alien crew stared at each other. They had never heard of such a fleet before. But the name alone sounded powerful. Then the voice said something that made every officer nervous. "Beginning crew revival protocol." Captain Verex felt his heart pound. Crew revival. The scanner officer quickly checked the internal readings again. Then he looked up slowly. "Captain." "Yes." "The stasis pods. What about them?" The officer swallowed. "They are starting to open." Inside the massive human warship, thousands of stasis chambers were slowly unlocking. Ancient doors sliding open. Life support systems activating. And inside one of those chambers, a human soldier slowly opened his eyes. After 10,000 years of sleep, humanity was waking up. Captain Verex stared at the enormous warship in silence. Because now he understood something terrifying. The alien fleet had not discovered a dead ship. They had accidentally awakened a sleeping army. The bridge of the vortex claw felt colder than before. No one spoke for several seconds after the scanners confirmed the truth. Inside the massive human warship, the stasis pods were opening. Thousands of them. Captain Verex watched the data scroll across the screen. The life signs inside the ship were growing stronger every second. The humans were waking up. "Captain," the scanner officer said nervously, "the revival process is spreading across multiple decks." "How many pods are active?" Verex asked. The officer checked the numbers again. "Over 500 already." A quiet murmur moved through the bridge. 500 human soldiers waking inside a fully armed warship was more than enough to destroy their entire fleet. The alien officers looked back at the massive vessel floating in front of them. It no longer looked like an abandoned relic. Now it looked like a sleeping giant that had finally opened its eyes. Suddenly the communication station beeped again. Another signal was coming from the human warship. "Captain, incoming transmission," the officer said. Verex took a slow breath. "Put it through." The bridge speakers activated. This time the voice that came through was different. It was not mechanical. It was calm. Clear. Human. "Unknown Crithian vessels," the voice said slowly. The alien crew froze. "This is Commander Elias Ward of the Human Defense Fleet." The name meant nothing to them, but the voice carried a quiet authority. Captain Verex stepped forward. "This is Captain Verex of the Crithian Patrol Fleet. We did not intend to activate your ship." There was a short silence. Then the human commander replied. "You activated our scanning network when you performed a deep scan of this vessel." Verex exchanged looks with his officers. They had no idea their scan could trigger something like that. "We believed your ship was abandoned," Verex explained. Another pause followed. Then the human voice returned. "This ship is not abandoned." At that moment the alien sensors showed something terrifying. The human warship's power levels jumped again. New weapon systems activated across its hull. Missile chambers opened. Rail cannons rotated slowly toward the alien fleet. "Captain," one officer whispered nervously. "Targeting systems are locking onto us." The bridge suddenly became tense. But Captain Verex raised his hand again. "No aggressive actions," he ordered. The human commander spoke once more. "This vessel was deployed as a watchpoint." "Watchpoint?" Verex asked. "Yes. For 10,000 years this ship has been monitoring the outer regions of the galaxy." The alien officers stared at the screen in shock. 10,000 years. That meant the ship had been watching the galaxy since before most modern civilizations even existed. "Why place a ship here for so long?" Verex asked carefully. The answer came calmly. "To observe. And to respond if necessary." The human commander's tone remained steady, but something about his voice made the alien crew uneasy. Suddenly the scanners detected movement inside the warship. Human soldiers were walking through the corridors. Armored figures appearing across multiple decks. "Captain," the scanner officer whispered. "Over 1,000 humans are now active." The bridge fell silent again. More life signs kept appearing. The humans were fully awake now. Then the alien scanners detected something else. Something far more disturbing. "Captain, new signals appearing." "Where?" Verex asked. "Across the entire sector." The main screen changed. Dots of light began appearing across the star map. At first there were only a few. Then dozens. Then hundreds. Each one marked a powerful energy signature. The officer's voice trembled slightly. "They are the same type of signal as this warship." Captain Verex slowly understood what the data meant. Other ships. More human ships. Hidden across the region. Sleeping. Watching. Waiting. The human commander spoke again. "You have discovered one vessel of the Human Defense Network." The alien crew stared in disbelief. "How many are there?" Verex asked quietly. The human voice answered without hesitation. "Enough." The simple word echoed across the silent bridge. Captain Verex looked at the star map again. Hundreds of signals. Possibly thousands. Human warships hidden across the galaxy. For 10,000 years. The Crithian officers suddenly understood something that chilled them deeply. Humanity had never truly disappeared. They had simply stepped back. Watching the galaxy from the shadows. Preparing. Waiting for the moment they might be needed again. The human commander spoke one final time. "You have awakened this ship. But you are not our enemy." The alien crew slowly relaxed, but the tension never fully disappeared. Because now they knew the truth. Somewhere in the dark between the stars, human warships were waiting. And if the galaxy ever became dangerous again, humanity would wake up. The bridge of the vortex claw was completely silent. Every officer was staring at the star map on the main screen. Hundreds of signals were now visible across the sector. Each signal belonged to a hidden human warship. Ships that had been sleeping in deep space for thousands of years. Captain Verex felt a heavy pressure in his chest. He had traveled across many star systems during his career, but he had never seen anything like this. Commander Ward, Verex said carefully into the communication channel, "Are you saying these ships have been here this entire time?" The human commander answered calmly. "Yes. For 10,000 years the human defense network has been active." The alien officers exchanged nervous looks. "But why hide them?" one officer whispered quietly to Verex. The captain asked the same question aloud. If humans still had fleets like this, why disappear from the galaxy? There was a long pause. For a moment, only the quiet sound of ship systems filled the bridge. Then Commander Ward finally spoke again. Because the galaxy was not ready. The answer confused the alien crew. Not ready for what? Verex asked. For what was coming. At that moment, the human warship's external lights brightened. The giant vessel slowly adjusted its position in space, its massive engines glowing faintly as power flowed through them. The alien fleet suddenly felt even smaller next to the enormous ship. Commander Ward continued. 10,000 years ago the galaxy faced a threat greater than any empire. The alien officers leaned closer to their screens. A threat? Verex asked. Yes. A species that consumed entire civilizations. The bridge fell silent again. Where are they now? Verex asked carefully. Commander Ward's voice remained calm. They are gone. The answer came quickly, but something about it felt heavy. Captain Verex thought about it for a moment. Then a terrible possibility formed in his mind. You mean, Verex said slowly. The humans stopped them. There was no reply for several seconds. But the silence itself was an answer. The alien officers stared at the massive human warship with new understanding. This ship was not just a weapon. It was part of a defense system. A shield watching over the galaxy. Commander Ward finally spoke again. The human defense network was created to ensure that threat never returned. Thousands of ships were placed across the galaxy. Each one sleeping. Each one watching. Captain Verex looked again at the star map filled with human signals. The scale of it was unbelievable. Does the galaxy know about this? He asked. No, Ward replied. And it was not meant to. The human commander paused before continuing. Most civilizations believed humanity disappeared. That belief kept the galaxy calm. The alien officers slowly realized the truth. Humanity had hidden itself on purpose. While the rest of the galaxy grew and expanded, human warships remained silent guardians in the darkness. Watching. Waiting. Protecting. Suddenly the scanners detected new movement. More human soldiers were now active inside the warship. Large armored figures walking through the massive corridors. Preparing the ship for full operation. The alien fleet felt extremely small compared to the giant vessel. Captain Verex spoke carefully again. What will happen now? Commander Ward answered simply. Nothing. The alien officers looked confused. You will leave this system, Ward said. And you will forget what you have seen here. The message was calm, but it carried clear authority. Captain Verex nodded slowly. That will be done. But before ending the transmission, Verex asked one final question. Commander, if the galaxy faces danger again, will humanity return? For a moment there was silence. Then the human commander gave a quiet reply. We never left. The communication channel closed. On the main screen, the massive human warship slowly turned away from the alien fleet. Its enormous engines glowed brighter as the ship prepared to move. Then, in a flash of blue light, the giant vessel jumped into hyperspace. The star map suddenly changed. One by one. The hidden human signals across the sector disappeared. Hundreds of ships vanishing into the darkness. Captain Varek stared at the empty star map. The galaxy looked quiet again. Peaceful. But now he knew the truth. Humanity was still out there. Hidden among the stars. Watching the galaxy in silence. And if the day ever came when the galaxy needed them again. The sleeping fleets of humanity.